Scripture today is John 11:32 through 44. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go."
Spend the month of November looking at the work of the village, everything that it takes to make a village operate, or things that happen within the village. And in today's scripture, the thing that's happening within the village is a death. And a death also is a normal part of life in the village, but it's always stunning and shocking, even when expected, and it puts people's emotions in interesting kinds of places. This scripture is well known. It's the raising of Lazarus. It tells the story of this brother of Mary and Martha. All these are famous biblical characters. And he dies even though the sisters called for Jesus to come earlier and perhaps heal him. Jesus gets there after his death. And he cries over his friend Lazarus' death, just as any of us would when hearing of the death of a dear friend. And also among the tears he hears this outrage and anger. You heard Kay read just now, these wondering why Jesus didn't come earlier or sooner and try to heal Lazarus. Lots of anger and outrage. And as you well know, those are also common emotions surrounding the death of someone in your village. But then Jesus, being Jesus, does in fact perform a miracle. And he raises Lazarus from the dead. He makes this point, as he did in last week's healing of the blind man Bartimaeus, that it is faith that heals us and makes us whole. When we lose those we love, we often do have moments of tears and outrage and anger, when our emotions are too intense in the moment. And that deep faith that carries us through times like that sometimes feels like it's taking a bit of a back seat from time to time in that emotion of the moment. Sometimes it takes a bit of space and distance from the reality of a loss. It might not be an actual physical death of a person, but some deep loss. It takes a bit of time and space to clear the cobwebs out of your eyes and see and feel more clearly. Eventually, though, we can see and feel the presence of God again in our lives. And perhaps we can even reflect back on the ways that God has indeed held us very closely during our outrage and our anger. Jesus, when he does decide to resurrect Lazarus, suggests that Martha remove the stone from the tomb, and he says that she must take the stone away, and she obviously resists because of the stench of death, but he insists the stone be removed. This week, we're taking a look at different kinds of stones, right? The stones that keep us away, the stones and the stone-heartedness that we have sometimes that tries to keep the miracle away from our lives. But we also look at the stones that bring us together. As we learn about this story that we just heard of the stone soup, the great folk tale of two men or three who cooked stones over the fire and made a great soup because of what each person collectively in the village brought to the broth. So we do have both kinds of stones in our lives, those that become barriers to miracles and those that become miracles. We must be willing to let die that which has died. That's clear. And embrace whatever new forms of new life come out of that death. I've preached on this scripture before and said that the Lazarus that dies does not get resurrected. Something different is happening in the world. That's what resurrection is. Resurrection isn't resuscitation. Resurrection is creating a whole new life out of a life that has been lost. And it is as hard as pulling Lazarus back to life. It requires great faith and great courage. But at the same time, it's also just as simple and easy as making a stone soup with the neighborhood village. This is All Saints' Day in the Christian tradition. It's the day in the church when we remember the saints of our church and the lives that have gone before us. The saints being anybody who has shaped and formed our lives in some significant way, who has passed on. So we remember fondly on this day, this All Saints' Day. We remember fondly like a stone that we've rolled away. And we also remember with sadness, like the stone that stays closed over a tomb. That person or persons in our lives and what they contributed to make us who we are. So this day is a very sacred one in the life of our church. A time for honoring the saints of our past. And it's a time of coming together. The circle of life, that birth, life, death cycle, is natural and normal and something that every single person in this place, and even the non-persons in this place, every single creature in this place shares together, that birth, life, death cycle. So let's remember these stones that we simmer into delicious soup. Our super eating today does, in fact, have stones simmering in it. They seem like nothing, really. You know, pick them up in the yard, scrub them good, run them through the dishwasher. Nothing. They're insignificant, really. But what they symbolize, those small stones, symbolize these snapshots of time in our lives that create this savory broth that we call our human existence, and that what carry us through times when we have those stones that entomb us instead. That nature of giving and sharing and collectively being in it together, that's what creates that savory broth of life that holds us when times seem dark and entombing. It's clear from the scripture and from other references that Jesus and Lazarus are friends. And they were evidently pretty close friends. So of course Jesus is distraught over his death. And yet he, in his humanness, doesn't just snap into Savior mode right away. He takes the time necessary, just like preparing a soup. He takes the time necessary to stop and let the moment that he's in just sort of simmer in his soul a little bit. He takes time to grieve and to remember, to cry, to be in solidarity with his grieving friends and family as they feel the stone so tightly pulled over the life they once knew with Lazarus. And then, after that pause and that simmer and that reflection and that soul searching has taken place, then the miracle is performed. Jesus allows Lazarus to be resurrected and walk again among his friends and his loved ones. He pulls the stone away. He senses that life is more than the darkness that the community, the village, has let it become. So on this All Saints' Day, on this Stone Soup Sunday, let us pause and reflect and remember the loved ones we have lost. In just a moment, I will give you a space and time to just call out their names from where you are. A lot of times it's someone that we've lost over the last year that we call out, but I offer you the opportunity to call out anybody that you consider significant and a saint in your life. Spend a moment grieving the stone pulled over the life with them that you once knew because they're now with us. But also take a moment to savor the part of your life that they so enriched. As with the stone over the tomb, though, we can't hold too tightly to what came before. And as with the simmering stones in the pot, we must savor with anticipation what lies ahead if we all collectively love and give and care together. In the story it says, as each person opened up their heart to give, the next gave even more. Let us be that kind of people in this place that give so abundantly that each one of us wants to give a little more than we did before. Grateful to give, grateful because of this great cloud of witnesses who have come before us. Grateful for what they have meant to us. Grateful for the memories we share of our times together. But also in the same moment, eager to stir the soup of tomorrow's dreams. We can stir the soup of tomorrow's dreams here in this place. We can go all the way from toilet paper rolls to world peace if we collectively become the village together. So as you come forward in a beautiful and sacred time today in this village to come together at this holy table and receive the Holy Sacrament, today of all days, All Saints' Day, Stone Soup Sunday, let us consider what we're grateful for and who we're grateful for in this sacred place and in this moment in time when we pause to remember the great cloud of witnesses who have indeed rolled stones away to get us here today. Amen.